Hello and welcome everyone. This has been Rock39. Today I'm going to share a video with you guys and ladies explaining or just basically showing you all the assault rifles and how you can mod them to get as much concealment out of them as possible. I've taken a build with no skills and I just put 10 points in the ghost tree, and it's the ones that these are the skills that you're going to use to gain concealment in your build. This one is for the melee weapons, and optical illusions is fine and well when you do basic because of the 35% less likely to be targeted by the enemies. But if you're making a stealth build and you're using aced optical illusions, you're doing it to reduce the concealment penalty of your silencers. Well, I just put these points here because I wanted you all to see the effect that those have on modded assault rifles. In this particular video, that's all I'm focusing on, even though I will show you what I did with the secondary, just to give you an idea of how to maintain a high concealment, which in turn will give you a low detection risk. I'm going to remove this body armor because it's not necessary. I'll show you later what it's about, but for the time being, the Bernetti has been modded in a way that allows me to get the maximum concealment number that I've ever seen on a pistol, including the Gruber Curse. Those two have a benefit of a +3 concealment boost, and all the other pistols that I've modded so far can only reach either a 30 or 31. So with this gun in your secondary, or a highly concealable gun in your secondary, it actually affects everything. Your primary, your secondary, and your melee concealment numbers will affect your detection risk. So this one has been modded in a way that I'll show you what I've done. This is actually my stealth weapon. I have a size doesn't matter suppressor, which will not take a concealment penalty, but because I have aced optical illusions, I could put a better suppressor on here, but it's not necessary. I'm just using this to get the most concealment out of my secondary, so you can see how it affects the detection risk when you pair it with a modded assault rifle. I'm not going to go into great detail about the mods that I put on that gun. It's just the main focus right now is high concealment on your secondary, your melee weapon, and your primary. And like I said, once again, in this case, it's the assault rifles that I'm focusing on. I will go through and make future videos that will show how highly concealable you can make, all the shotguns, all the SMGs, even the LMGs. I'm going to go through and make videos for every single category, just so players who don't know how to mod a gun to get the most out of concealment, hopefully after this video you'll understand, and it'll make it a little more easier for you to achieve a minimum detection risk of 3. So here in the build, I simply used 10 points in Artful Dodger to get Duck and Cover Basic and Inner Pockets Basic. I also took Second Wind Basic to Ace Optical Illusions, which most people do in a stealth build or even a critical damage build for you dodge players that want to keep that low detection risk and maybe run low blow, or like I use in my grinder build. So all the other skills are not important right at this moment. It's simply to show you the way the guns can be modded to get that number down. So here I go. This is the Amcar rifle. As you can see, the concealment number on it is 24, and I'll show you how I did this. Now bear in mind, I put the medium suppressor on all of these rifles just so there's a consistent standard, so everyone can get an idea. Now if you go with a bigger is better bigger the better suppressor, you're going to be up or down 1 point in concealment. So if I had put that on this one, it would be a 23 instead of a 24 basically. So let me just show you the mods that I did, and maybe it'll help everyone understand. Now for the AMCAR rifle, I can only achieve a 24 concealment, and I did it through placing a medium suppressor. I put a concealment boost, and that's pretty much it. Aside from this wide stock, you got 3 mods that you can put on the AMCAR to get that detection risk as low as you can by modding it to a 24 in concealment. So with that being said, I'll move on to the next one, the AK rifle. Now I did place these in the order that you can purchase them. It's not in the order that their concealment numbers are high to low or anything like that. Here I used the AK Slavic Dragon Barrel. It adds a +1 in concealment. I used the medium suppressor once again, the concealment boost. I put the battle proven handguard for the +3 concealment that it adds. The AK rubber grip adds +2 concealment. I didn't do anything with the magazines for the main purpose that all of them can't use a concealment boost unless it's DLC, and I do have some DLC weapons that I'm going to go over, but if they're not DLC weapons, I'm not using any DLC mods, so that's why I'm not using this particular mag. If you do have it, you can get it up to a 27 instead of a 26, which is where it's at. But it's just a basic understanding that you guys need to see about getting your concealment high so you can run a minimum detection risk of 3. No sight, and I put the folding stock on for the +2 concealment boost. Now on to the CAR 4. This is a really concealable weapon. I went with the short barrel for the +2 concealment, the medium suppressor. I equipped the concealment boost, the competitive or competition foregrip, forgive me, the straight grip for the +2 concealment, the folding stock, and I believe that's it as far as anything that gives a concealment boost on the CAR 4. As you see, it's a pretty high number in concealment of 31, which is one of the better ones if you're not using any DLC. The CAR 4 is an excellent primary for stealthing, or possibly even going loud with if you mod it a little better, but it will afford you that ability to stay really low in detection. Here is the UAR rifle. The concealment number is a bit down, 24, but once again, if your primary is kinda, you know, in the 20s like this one, 24, as long as your secondary and your melee weapon are higher in concealment or as high as they can be, you still can reach a minimum detection risk. I used the short barrel. It offers a +2 concealment, the medium suppressor, a concealment boost, and I believe that's all that has. So 3 mods to get that to a 24, but coupled with that Bernetti 9 with such a high concealment number, it can offset the fact that it's just a 24 in concealment and still keep that detection risk down. Now the number went up by 1 using the AK-762 rifle. Now this has about 5 mods on it, and they're all relative to concealment, I'm pretty sure. I used the AK Slavic Dragon Barrel, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the battle proven handguard, the AK rubber grip, and I believe, oh, see, I can get that number higher because I'm going to put on the skeletal stock. So that number goes down to a minimum detection risk, which is awesome. And I'm kind of glad I'm doing this because I missed that. So yeah, you can reach a minimum detection risk of 3 if you use the Bernetti modded at its max, which is 34, and this 23 concealment number is still gonna not affect your detection. So that's excellent. Here we'll go to the JP36 rifle, which has 4 concealment mods. Obviously the first one will be the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the compact foregrip, and the solid stock. So the number on this one is 25 in concealment, which is definitely going to help us stay at that detection risk of 3. Oh, let me back that up. I made a mistake. Here we go. I gotta lock it in order for it to work. The golden AK-762 rifle. Once again, the Slavic Dragon barrel. It's going to give you the most concealment with not being DLC. If you have DLC, you could use a modern barrel, which you have every right to. That's up to you. But if you're not one of those players that has any DLC, you can still achieve these numbers. Obviously the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the battle-proven handguard, the AK rubber grip, and the skeletal stock. But as you notice, the detection risk is now at 4, but that's because this gun can only reach a 21 in concealment. So if you can stay at a 22 or better, this number should go down when I switch to the Queen's Wrath. So let's see. Yes, the detection risk is back at its minimum of 3. And it's got 4 mods on it. The diminutive barrel, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, and the versatile foregrip. Those all together combined will allow you to get to a 22 with this, and it seems that 22 is the lowest you can have if your secondary is modded to a 34 and you're at 32 concealment with your melee weapon. Now this one is the biggest violator of them all, along with, I believe, one of these other rifles, but I might be mistaken. But I know that the M308 is definitely hard to keep down in concealment no matter what you do, or high in concealment, sorry. Your detection risk will be at 17. It's the best I could do with this particular rifle. I used the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, and the Abraham body. That's the best this gun can do in concealment, which isn't that great, but I've actually stealthed higher than 17 and it worked out fine. Now the Clarion rifle is another one that's really sweet to keep a high concealment number. I used the short barrel, the medium suppressor. The concealment boost is not +1 on this particular gun. You can actually get a concealment boost of +3. So obviously that's the one I chose, and that's going to keep us there. If I went with the +1, the number doesn't change, but if I used a less concealable secondary or a less concealable melee weapon, that detection risk will jump up a little bit. So I'll make sure I'm using the highest values that I can. And that's pretty much it for the Clarion rifle, which it's a really good gun, especially if you're going loud. I think it's one of the best ones, to be honest, if you're not using DLC, of course. But even with that, I still use that one quite a bit, even though I do have the big score, which enables me to use DLC. Now the Lion's Roar rifle, I got a concealment number of 22 by equipping the CQB barrel, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, and that's it. Now the AK-5 rifle, I can get to 23 in concealment, and I pretty much modded it just like all the others. There are slight differences, but you'll see. Alright, now I would use the CQB barrel on this one, but as you see, it says this is a butcher mod pack item, so I didn't place it on there. But if you have those, you can actually get a 25 out of this, but it's not totally necessary. Here I use the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the Belgian heat handguard, and the Caesar stock. Now on to the Gecko 7.62 rifle. It can reach a 24 in concealment, and I simply place the CQB foregrip, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, and the fabulous stock. Now on to the AMR 16 rifle. The concealment number is a 24, and it'll be right there. You can keep these numbers pretty good. Now once again, this has got 5 mods on it, but they're relative. Nothing for the barrel. I did use a medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the blast from the past handguard, the straight grip, and the wide stock. And here we are to the Falcon rifle. It's got 5 mods on it. It's got the CQB foregrip, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the tactical grip, and the CQB stock, all of which enable it to get to a 25 concealment, which is pretty good. Now you might be looking at some of the damage numbers. Remember, I'm only speccing into inner pockets basic and optical illusions aced. So once you make your whole build, the numbers and damage and all that is going to go up, but that concealment number will stay low or that concealment number will stay high. I always confuse concealment and detection risk, forgive me, but it'll stay high if you mod it this way. Now with the, I don't even want to pronounce that word, Guerre 3 rifle, I hope I didn't butcher it too bad. I used the assault kit, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the plastic foregrip, and that was it. There's pretty much just 4 mods that get that gun down to a 22 or up to a 22. Now here's another one that's pretty good for concealment purposes, the Commando 553 rifle. And if in case you're not aware, you can use this weapon right out the gate even if you have no skills whatsoever. This one will be available to you. You won't have to unlock it by leveling up. But it has 4 mods on it, and it's the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the wide stock, and the heat treated body, all of which enable it to get to that 29, which is exceptionally good considering it could be very well your very first weapon. Now the Eagle Heavy Rifle, this one is similar to the M308. It's probably the hardest gun to get high concealment, so your detection risk is going to be, higher than the minimum, which once again, stealthing at 13 is not a big deal. But if you're going to use it for a loud build and try to get critical damage through low blow, you might want to ace it instead of using it basic in order to get the full benefit of low blow, with the detection risk being as high as it is. I use the short barrel, the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, the straight grip, and that's it. Now onto the DLC items. This is from the so-called character pack. The Valkyria rifle is one of the probably the highest possible concealment numbers you can get out of any of these assault rifles. It's actually my favorite out of all the guns I use. And once again, this is all DLC, so if you have it, you probably never mess with this gun because of its weak numbers, but I use it a lot, and when you make a good build, this little rifle is incredible. I put the prototype barrel, the concealment boost, and that's it. It's only got 2 mods, and just in case you're not aware, you don't need to equip a silencer on this. Well, rather you can't, because this gun comes silenced right out of the box. So if you're stealthing with other guns and you don't know, you can't use them because you don't have a silencer like I did. I didn't realize that I had this, and I was just dying to get a silencer for my other guns, and when I finally used it, I realized this gun is silent already. It can't be modified to go loud, other than you can use it for loud, but it doesn't make a sound. It's a silenced weapon, period. It's always going to be silenced. Now that's a 32 in concealment, and that's about as high as it gets, along with this cavity 9mm, which is, it has 3 mods on it, but this gun will be loud if you don't put a suppressor on it. I need to switch that over so we can see the effect, but it's not going to change because it's the exact same as the Valkyria rifle in that 32 concealment. I used the medium suppressor, the concealment boost, and the Appellation foregrip. This particular gun has 3 different foregrips that will allow you to, increase or decrease certain statistics. Obviously this one gives you the most in concealment. This is a silenced version of this gun, so if you apply the Tooth Fairy suppressor, it's going to lower your concealment, but you won't have to add a silencer. But once again, if you're going for the highest concealment, I would simply use the Appellation foregrip and put a suppressor on it. But that's not necessary. Obviously you saw I put on that Tooth Fairy suppressor, and still my detection risk stayed low. Now this is a single fire weapon only. It is in that high damage category, so this is a really decent gun to use. It's on par as far as damage with the M308 actually, but it doesn't have a 10-round magazine or whatever the M308 has. This thing has a 33-round mag, but its total ammo is 66. Now you can increase that number through skills, but that's a different story. I'm just trying to show you that the detection risk can be maintained with some pretty decent assault rifles. So if you're using bows and akimbo weapons, nothing's wrong with using either of those. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But you can mod your guns in order to get a minimum detection risk of 3. Aside from the Eagle Heavy and the M308, I think I pretty much got a detection risk of 3 with almost every one of them. Now this weapon is from the Sydney character pack, and it's the bootleg rifle. I've got it modded with 4 different mods that allowed me to get a 27 concealment out of it. So let's take a look at them. And once again, remember, these last 3 rifles I showed are DLC weapons, and I could possibly use DLC mods with it as well, because they are DLC guns. Now I did put a medium suppressor, a concealment boost, the straight grip, and the folding stock. All those with this gun allow you to get a 27. So yeah, you got 21 assault rifles, and out of 21, only 2 really pushed me past that point where I wouldn't want to be with a modded primary. So I'm just going to flick back through till I get to the very first one, and you can look at the concealment number in the top left corner next to my reputation and infamy card, and you'll see that it's always going to be between 3 and 4, I believe, when you have optical illusions ace. Oh, except for the Eagle Heavy and the M308. The Golden AK takes it to 4, but all the others I believe are going to keep you at 3. Now I am going to take the Bernetti 9, and let's say some of you want to use the Judge, okay, which I do have a really highly modded Judge, and the Judge can reach a 30 in concealment the way I have it modded, and this is the way it's modded for my stealth build. It's got just about every mod you can put on it, save for that compact laser module. It's the only mod that doesn't really change its concealment number. I did put a concealment boost on it, and the sight, even if I took the sight off, this could reach a 31. And if I also, well, yeah, that's about it. I mean, if you take the sight off, it will reach 31, which is pretty darn good, but I prefer having a sight on this particular one. So there you go. Now I'm going to go back through now with the Judge, just so everyone can see. The AMCAR went to a 6. The AK rifle stayed at 3. The CAR 4 definitely at 3. The UAR at 6, 7. I'll just quit saying the numbers and I'll just slowly go through for the JP36, the Golden AK, and you can see how the secondary, if its concealment isn't very high, it's going to change with the primary. So bear that in mind when you're, you know, speccing into a modified secondary. Try to keep that number at least at 31. If you can do a 31, that's probably not going to be too bad. I think it'll keep you at a 4, which I'll go ahead and remove this sight just so we can get this at 31, because some of you might not even use the sight on your Judge, and you won't be at a 3, but 4 isn't that bad when you're talking stealth or even loud, because like I said, if you're using a critical build with low blow, you want that number to be below 5 or below, really, in your detection risk. I prefer 3, but that's just a preference. And once again, these numbers aren't so bad. Even a 7 isn't bad, but there are quite a few assault rifles that you can use to keep that detection risk pretty low. So if you're bringing bows because you think you can't get a detection or a concealment number low enough, just mod your guns. If you don't have the gun mods, play through the game or gamble offshore, whatever you do, and you'll start getting those gun mods. And once again, all the gun mods that I have on all of those except for the last 3, which is the Valkyria rifle and the Cavity, as well as the bootleg rifle, this is all non-DLC stuff, so there's no reason why you can't do it. Just take some time and mod your guns. But hopefully I took that guesswork out of it for you. The next one, I guess I'll either do shotguns and primaries, or I don't know, but it'll be coming. Once again, as always, take care, be well, and good games.